All right, so I sanded from 80 grit on this one in particular because I was trying to clean up the edge here. It's hard to see with the sun. I sanded from 80 grit all the way up to 400 with the orbital sander, and it turned out pretty nice. There are some divots still, but they'll probably be mostly hidden when we put it over the fire pit. So the only other thing is that there's like maybe a 1/16 of an inch like face-to-face distance here, so we could like tack these together in the center, the span, with just like a simple bracket, and I probably will do that. So I blew the surface with the compressor, but I am just gonna like wipe this down with a rag that has water on it, let it dry, and then I'm gonna apply I'm gonna use teak oil, but I don't see why you couldn't use tongue or linseed oil or walnut oil or whatever oil you want to use to kind of help make the grain pop. And the Ipe, I actually don't know much about it, but I don't think it really needs to be sealed from a longevity standpoint with regard to water and UV degradation. But if you want the wood to look a little better, you would want to use an oil. So this was the first coat. It's only been about 20 minutes. It says to reapply after 30 minutes, reapply after flooding, and I essentially flooded. It's a little easier to flood when the boards are horizontal, but I didn't really have enough, drop cloth to do that. So anyway, I will be reapplying a second coat, and then I'll just let it dry for 8 to 10 hours like the bottle recommends. All right, so I already removed some of like the two inner layers from this, but basically I put the pieces of wood on the metal frame and roughly centered. I got the corners on the center of the bar, and then I roughly made the space between the inner ring and this bar end equal, and then I made sure the gaps all around were roughly equal. And I just used this metallic Sharpie marker to make a mark through this through hole into the smaller hole here and rotate whatever. But when you're doing this, just make sure you mark the corner that matches up with the metal corner so that you don't forget which one goes where. And then I take them off and I drill them, with the metal out of not installed. And I just, it's not to do, but just make sure you don't drill through. Put a little piece of tape on the drill bit. And then I'm gonna go and use these fasteners with a Torx bit. Basically, the Torx bit should indicate that they're intended for higher torque. And I've used these before. They're actually pretty strong and shear, like when you torsional shear. So I'd recommend using these. And then these are the brackets that I'm gonna use. They're just from Home Depot. I don't even know. They're really thin, maybe 20 gauge or something. But it should accomplish the task of ensuring that the center here, where there would be some sag potentially or whatever's going on with the mismatched surfaces, it'll help ensure that it's coplanar. Well, the brackets definitely help, but what you have to do is get the holes on the piece that is, like if this one, which it was higher than this one, you have to make sure you get the holes on the higher one close to the edge so that the bracket tries to lift the adjacent board. And for that reason, like thicker metal would be better, but you just need at least one screw close to the high edge, and it seems to help quite a bit. And then obviously these you can drill the wood because you have access to the wood surface. You can drill the wood when it's like mounted to the metal frame. So I'll probably just get 2 more brackets put them over here because there's a little bit of a discontinuous surface. Well, this is how the table turned out with just the ipe and the metal frame, but it doesn't really, it's pretty obvious that there's like bricks and you know, some different materials underneath. So I'm just gonna like use some walnut that I have and try to close that out above and below this horizontal bar. But it definitely seems like it's helpful that the table is, well, the fire pit basically is elevated. Like sitting in these low chairs, it's like a pretty natural height. And these are, let's see here. These are like 15 inches off the ground when they're uncompressed. So you're still sinking low, but you don't want like a super low table. And then these normal sized chairs would be, it's also like much more natural to be at this level. Like my arm is still angled down, but you could put a plate of food here or something. It would be comfortable. One thing I wanted to point out is that I forgot to add the height of the tabletop, this like 5/8 of an inch, which happened to be roughly the height of those pieces of plastic. So I didn't end up, like the plastic fit on the legs, and I'd prefer to use it, but it's easier for me to just remove the plastic than to trim the legs. And then I just used a shim, like a little piece of plexiglass, to stabilize the table. Whereas with the plastic, you would have been able to shave, you know, the plastic on one leg very easily, because you can remove the plastic from the leg and then easily cut it to stabilize the table. But so the plastic is probably not absolutely necessary